Good evening, everyone. This is Bill Breeden. Thank you for joining me tonight for Constellation Tour number 87. Tonight we're going to talk about Mensa, the Table Mountain. Mensa is a southern celestial polar constellation, which means it's very close to the southern celestial pole in the southern sky. And it is, therefore, it's visible all year from most southern locations. And by southern, I mean below the equator. So we have Stellarium set up for viewing from Buenos Aires, Argentina. And since Mensa is circumpolar, it's visible all year. So the date I've chosen is July the 15th, 2022 at about 8:40 or 8:30 p.m. And we're looking at a moderately light polluted sky with a 60-degree field of view, giving you an idea of what you can take in with the unaided eye. Mensa is difficult to find, and Mensa doesn't have a whole lot going on in it, with one very notable exception. So let's get started. Let's go outside and find Mensa. We're looking south from the southern hemisphere, so as always we need to orient ourselves to the south celestial pole. So let's find the Southern Cross, and in mid-July the Southern Cross is going to be pretty high up. So here it is right here, Crux, and here's Alpha and Beta Centauri. So we should all be experts at finding the southern pole now. Hopefully. You draw a line from the Southern Cross, draw another line perpendicular to Alpha and Beta Centauri. The point where those lines intersect is the approximate location of the south celestial pole. Now all of these circumpolar constellations rotate around the southern celestial pole like the hands on a clock. So if we imagine Crux as noon, then we want to imagine Mensa at about the 5 o'clock position. So we're going to draw a clock here, and we're going to stop around 5 o'clock. No stars in this area, but there is a fuzzy patch there. Now if you're in a dark enough location, you will be able to see this fuzzy patch. That is the Large Magellanic Cloud. And if you've got too much light pollution, you won't really be able to see that. You can simulate that. A little bit more light pollution. And lo and behold, the Magellanic Cloud is not visible now. So we've got Crux here. We've got Alpha and Beta Centauri, putting the south celestial pole about here. Crux at the noon position, and we would go down to about the 5 o'clock position. And notice there's no stars, and even the Magellanic Cloud is no longer visible. So this is the approximate area where you will find Mensa, the Table Mountain. Let's go back to the suburbs, give ourselves a little bit of a break. And let's turn on our constellation lines. And you'll see Mensa's here, and you'll see just a hint of the Large Magellanic Cloud right here. And most of the Large Magellanic Cloud does fall within the boundaries of Mensa, the Table Mountain. Okay, well, since there's not much in Mensa, let's make it worth our while and travel to a dark site. And we have arrived at a dark location. So at this point, finding Mensa is actually easier. Look for the Large Magellanic Cloud. And if you have any doubts about where it is, look for the Southern Cross, which tells you you're looking south. And the large and small Magellanic Clouds will be in that part of the sky. And you'll see that the Large Magellanic Cloud is mostly in Mensa. Part of it is in Dorado. And the Small Magellanic Cloud is in Tucana. So here are the constellation boundaries here, and here's the one we're concentrating on tonight, Mensa, the Table Mountain. So let's have a look at some of the stars within Mensa. Now here's Gamma Mensa. Here's the Alpha star. Here's Zeta. And here's Epsilon. Let me go back to Zeta for a minute. Magnitude 5.6. None of these are really bright. Here's a nice little pairing here. WX Mensa and Boobup. Never heard of that. And here's Eta Mensa. Here's Xi Mensa. So a lot of fourth and fifth magnitude stars rather than your usual third and fourth. These are more like fourth and fifth. So this would be a tough constellation to star hop around in. Probably spend most of your time observing the Large Magellanic Cloud. So why don't we do that? And here is a view of the Large Magellanic Cloud as seen through a finder scope or binoculars. And you'll see it is across the border. So part of it is in Mensa, and the other part is in Dorado. I had to remind myself there. The Large Magellanic Cloud is first magnitude when all of its light is taken into consideration. It's located 163,000 light years from Earth. So that's about 3 to 4 times the average distance of a globular cluster. But you have to remember, this is a whole nother galaxy. This is a satellite of the Milky Way. So it's farther away than clusters of stars, but yet closer than most other distant galaxies. So this one is related to us here in the Milky Way. If you do put an eyepiece in, and you want to pan around it with an eyepiece, use your lowest power, widest angle eyepiece, and you're still only going to see a very small part of it at a time. The Large Magellanic Cloud occupies over 10 degrees of sky. And if you're talking about square degrees, it's more like 100 square degrees. So if you had an eyepiece that gives you a 1 degree field of view, you could take in 100 separate views through the eyepiece, just exploring this one object. Pretty cool. So since there's nothing else on my printout, let's convert Stellarium to a star chart and have a little look at Mensa. So let's focus on it. And let's turn on our star labels. They probably won't any show up because they're too faint. And let's turn on our deep sky labels. Oh boy, a lot of them are within the Magellanic Cloud. So let's dial it down a little. Wow, okay, that's good. I had to get it just right. All the objects are populating here within the Large Magellanic Cloud, which is not surprising. I mean, it's a whole nother galaxy of its own, even though it's a small one. And so it's going to be populated with open star clusters and globular star clusters, much like our own Milky Way galaxy is. So at this point, I'll Let's just pick something. Zoom in a little bit. How about an outlier? How about this guy here, NGC 2173? This is a globular cluster of 12th magnitude, and it's located 169,000 light years away. So that's not surprising. Most of these deep sky objects are going to be about the same distance as the Large Magellanic Cloud itself, since they're within the Magellanic Cloud. So that would make perfect sense. Their distance does make sense. And NGC 2173 is plotted, but there's no image of it in the software, which is understandable. 12th magnitude globular cluster, NGC 2173. So let's just let's have a little fun. Let's just explore. How about this open cluster here, NGC 2213? It is a 12th magnitude open cluster located 142,000 light years away. So it's closer to us than the bulk of the Large Magellanic Cloud, meaning that it must be like the near side, on the near side of the galaxy facing us here, if that makes any sense. And here's a simulated view of it through a 24mm panoptic, and you can see where Stellarium's image overlay is. That's why you've got that cutoff there. So obviously your view through a telescope eyepiece would be much better. Zoom in a little more. Here's another globular cluster. Let's see if we have an image of it here in Stellarium. NGC 2190. This is a 13th magnitude globular cluster. And this one's plotted, but again, not imaged, which makes sense. There's just far too many of these to provide an image for every one of them. Maybe someday. Okay, well, that's my highlight of the constellation Mensa, the Table Mountain. Oh, before I let you go, let's have a look at the mythical figures. Let's see what this Table Mountain stuff is all about. Well, it is a mountain, and it's flat at the top, so I guess that's where it gets its name. It's sort of like a mesa. It's probably where it gets its name from. So there you go. There's the drawing of Mensa, the Table Mountain, and you can see here's Octans here, which pretty much denotes the southern celestial pole, and here's Crux, the Southern Cross. Almost forgot to do that. Okay, well, now this concludes my tour of Mensa, the Table Mountain. Thank you for joining me tonight. Good night and good seeing.